2, 1, go.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jeff Sheehan. I'm here with Insurance WebEx to talk about needing prospects and using social media effectively to get them. A little bit about myself is I have just started another venture. It's called Marketing Marathon. And marketing is a marathon which needs goals, practice, testing, and endurance. I've been at this game for a long time, been almost 40 years in the marketing and sales arena, have sold a myriad of different products, including being a stockbroker. I'm considered top 50 over 50 marketing thought leader in the world, number 26 global marketing authority. I'm an IBM influencer futurist, also write for IBM. And I've worked in the past with Siemens, Hewlett Packard, Apple, Intel, AT&T, and many small businesses and insurance brokers. IBM is mentioned there because I still do work for them. I'm an industry expert, and as you can see there, I wrote a book, co-authored one with another gentleman called Al Smith, called Hired, Passive Employment in Social Media. It's done reasonably well on Amazon. Continue to market this on Amazon, and also have used this as a basis for talks over the last 7 years to career ministries in the greater Atlanta area on using Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Google for the job search. I'm also someone who's been interviewed on a myriad of different broadcasts and podcasts throughout the world, including Africa, if you can believe that, and China. So I am perceived, and I'm an industry expert in the overall marketing and sales arena. As a marketing thought leader, I've been named one of the 10 most influential marketers to follow on Twitter. And as I mentioned, the top 50 marketing thought leaders over 50 in 2014, 2015, and 2016. It's put out by a publication called Brand Quarterly in London, which, if you haven't subscribed to it, highly recommend it. They have a great abundance of marketing information on it. It's very well done. Also considered a top sales performance guru, and this was just issued a couple weeks ago, where it was ranked number 10 in the world of influential people in the sales arena. Also, I have been a lecturer at University of Georgia, Terry School of Business, Emory University, Kennesaw State University, University of Santa Clara in Santa Clara, California, and have given numerous talks to digital summits in Raleigh, Washington, D.C., Atlanta, and Dallas, as well as many other events throughout the United States. So very well recognized in this arena. And I'm here today to help you. I want to give special thanks to Seven Figure Sales Tools, who's really helped me tremendously with this program, and also Insurance WebEx. It's a pleasure to be here on Insurance WebEx platform and working with them to provide valuable content to the insurance industry. So today's topic is going to be 5 questions to ask when finding prospects using social media. Is everyone a prospect? What are you selling? Where is your ideal customer socially? Have you set goals for your social media efforts? Does your digital marketing work? Those are the key questions that you should be thinking about with regard to social media and for prospecting. I realize it's a 31,000-foot level look at this whole entire issue, because there's so many tactics involved. Actually can talk for hours on this, which I actually do, to insurance brokers and insurance agents on this subject matter. So the first question is everyone a possible prospect? And the answer to that is unequivocally no. In order to succeed in business, you need to determine who your best prospects are. You can't be everything to everyone. It's impossible. So you need to determine who they are. And the easiest way to do that is looking at your current established account base and looking at the data that you have on your existing customer base, because from that you can glean all kinds of information as to who your ideal customer is and how things are actually segmented into various things regarding gender of individuals, whether they're family people or not, and what their family status is. Are they actually retired? And where do they live? Are they at the beach, or are they somewhere else in a more congested area, such as here in Atlanta? But there's so many things that you can do with regard to these individuals that you already have in your existing database to make a determination as to who your best customers are, So you want to take that data and use it efficiently. The other thing you want to do is make a determination as to what kind of job functions they have, because that'll tell you a great deal about the type of people you have as far as policy holders and that, and what you may be able to do as far as cross-selling, upselling, and gaining the best clients you possibly can for your business. There's no sense of chasing after bad business. So you really want to be cognizant of this. The business that someone's in can have a great deal of bearing on your overall income stream. So it's very, very important that you make a determination in the customer base, what kind of people you're attracting from what particular industries or what particular professions, because of the fact that the likelihood of you gaining similar clients is very, very high. So that's a great point to start. The other thing is, once you know who your customers are by taking that database, there are various tools out there they can use to overlay the individuals with their social media presence, which will give you even more data that you can use to properly segment those people accordingly. So again, segmentation of the people and using the data that you have to do so will give you all kinds of eye-opening information with regard to who is a really good prospect for your brokerage or agency. So define the ideal client leads to better qualified clients, as I just said. And the other thing you want to do is you want to look at these individuals with regard to the life cycle, because the life cycle with regard to these people has a great deal of bearing on the sales triggers that are generated for them. For instance, are they fresh out of school? Are they getting married? Are they getting divorced? Has there been a change in their status with regard to business? Have they gotten a promotion? Are they retiring? There are a myriad of different sales triggers that you want to look at that have a bearing on the life cycle of the individuals and how it aligns with your insurance practice and who are good prospects for you accordingly, and how do you act with regard to that. The other thing with regard to the sales triggers, there are mechanisms out there in social media as far as social listening and that can actually help you capitalize on the sales trigger points. You need to know how to use them, however, or otherwise you can be chasing your tail with regard to the overall information that is available, because I can tell you it's just unbelievable. And so I consider it a content tsunami with regard to the amount of information out there. Unless you know how to properly extract it, read it, interpret it, and act upon it, then it's all for naught. So you want to consider that as a case. The other thing is, how do your individuals that you have as prospects and clients consume their information? Where are they looking? What are the sources for their research with regard to insurance prospects? Are they relying on others for the information? Are they getting information from referrals or word of mouth with regard to insurance policies? Those are considerations. The other thing is, within your respective area, who are the main influencers? Who are the individuals that can drive opinions? Because those are key individuals with regard to what you might look like to help your overall insurance practice and tying in accordingly. The other thing is the validation. How do these people validate the offerings that you have so that you can ensure that you're aligning with them properly? And then also with regard to this overall content consumption area, where do they enter the sales funnel? Because the fact, are they going out and doing all kinds of research on their own before they actually contact you? If that's the case, you want to make sure that you have plenty of content out there on your website and on social media channels to satisfy the needs for these individuals with regard to their research into the products and services that you're offering. Very, very critical. So what are you selling? This is a major consideration with regard to what you're doing. You need to be clearly focused, and you need to make sure that everything you're doing, that your messaging aligns with what you're selling, that you're clearly focused on the target audience, the target products you want to sell. You have a nice value proposition, and you can clearly enunciate that to the individuals that you're actually talking to without equivocating whatsoever with regard to what the message is. So there's no interpretation of any type of hesitancy on your part when you speak to people with regard to your insurance prospects. The other thing is you want to make sure that everything you do aligns properly. It's a synergistic approach to everything that you're selling and everything that you're doing. You want to make sure that what you're doing is aligned with the needs of the consumer and reaches them appropriately. There's no sense selling a retirement policy to someone who is actually a millennial, unless that person has a propensity to consume that product at that particular time or express an interest, because of the fact very, very difficult to sell someone in their 20s on something that's going to happen 30, 40 years later. So you want to make sure that you provide your target audience with the products that align with their respective needs at that particular time. The other thing you can do is to continue to nurture your prospects and your customers so you can upsell and you cross-sell. And also, by listening to their needs through social media channels for social signals, you'll be able to make a determination as to when is a great time to approach them for various insurance products. For instance, if you're a friend of them on Facebook, you might notice that they just had a baby. What an opportune time to introduce them to some type of insurance policy to take care of that young child. There are other triggers, they're about to get married or they just became widowed or whatever. These are certainly trigger points you can make a determination at to cross-sell, upsell with regard to what you learned from social media channels. The next thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you have clear and concise messaging. More is not always better. I can't tell you how important this is now in the social media era. The problem is now that people are being inundated by content and by messaging. For instance, just some stats here I wanted to share with you. Every minute, 3 million Facebook posts are shared, 1,400 blog posts, 500 hours of video content, 149,000 emails are sent, and 448,000 tweets. So you can see people are being inundated by messaging, by content, and they can't handle it. They can't absorb it. So you need to be very, very clear, concise, and on target with regard to any of the messaging that you provide on any of these channels within the social media era. Again, as I stated just earlier, it's a tsunami, and you need to make sure that you provide the messaging that will connect and align with their needs. The other thing is you want to make sure that you're not stretched too thin. There are so many things that you can be doing on social media in this day and age to prospect, to connect with customers and prospects, that you want to make sure that you're clearly focused and don't stretch yourself too thin. There's certain platforms you want to focus on, and the platforms that you want to focus on are the ones where your customers are. It doesn't make sense to go into platforms just for the sake of being on them because everyone else is on them. Because the fact is, social media is a time suck and can take up an awful lot of time if you're not careful. For instance, I advocate that people set aside a certain amount of time and they have a stopwatch or actually an egg timer, and they set that time up so that the egg timer or the stopwatch will go off after, say, half an hour, whatever the predetermined period of time is. Because otherwise what happens, the minutes turn into hours, the hours turn into days, the days turn into weeks, and the weeks turn into months and years, so on and so forth. And what happens at the end of the day, you have a lot of social media posts out there, you get a lot of likes and comments and that, but have you actually converted those into prospects or actual sales? So be very, very cognizant of this and very careful with regard to stretching yourself too thin. There's so many ways to communicate. You can actually get lost. And quite honestly, learning how to use these tools effectively is somewhat a complex task. It's not as easy as everyone makes out that they are to use, because there are certain techniques you have to use in order to gain followers, in order to engage with people, in order to have an ongoing presence. So please do not stretch yourself too thin. The other thing is you want to make sure that your messages are spot on. They're not muddled, that they're very, very clear and concise, and more importantly, that they're personalized for your respective audience. And they don't reach out to people that have absolutely no use for your particular service. For instance, just today, as a matter of fact, I received an email from a company in England. I live in Atlanta, Georgia, inviting me to an event this week in London. And I was flabbergasted that they actually were targeting me as a potential prospect for that. That's definitely a no-no with regard to what you're doing as far as your messaging and that. So be very, very careful with who you communicate with and how it's done so that you reach them exclusively with a personalized message. It's not muddled at all. The other thing is you want to make sure that your messages are visually appealing and attractive. You want to hire a great graphic artist to help you with your messaging graphics. It makes no sense for you to go out there and send something out that's a shoddy product, because you are competing against every other insurance agent or broker in town. So you want to make sure everything is attractive and what people are receiving from you is first class. The other thing is no typos or grammatical errors. This is critical because of the fact I can tell you from experience that if you have typos or grammatical errors, people are going to actually complain. They might go out there on social media and criticize you for that. They might do a myriad of different things. So you want to be very, very careful of that and have people proofread each and every thing that you do with regard to email campaigns, social media campaigns, and that. Remember, this is your business, and you want to be seen as someone who's an authority, and authorities don't have typos or grammatical errors. So what sets you apart from everyone else? Again, it's a proverbial red, shiny apple. And you get to this point by providing valuable information that is personalized, that's timely, that really addresses the needs of the individual at that particular time, and the content is aligned with the prospects and clients' needs. Don't be just sending out messages for the sake of sending out messages and not aligned with their particular needs at the time. It's nice to send out messages from time to time just saying how you doing, if I can be of any service for that, but don't bombard them with messages. Be very, very strategic in your approach. And I mentioned earlier about the message I received today from London. Make sure they're on these screwballs, that everything you're doing is right on target and addresses the particular audience that you are trying to reach. The other thing is, make sure that you look at best practices. Don't reinvent the wheel. Look at what some of your competitors are doing and think about what might be working for them. Also look at other areas of the country and what some of these insurance agents or brokers are doing with regard to the messaging, with regard to the websites, and everything else they're doing. There's no sense in reinventing the wheel. Use the best practices that are already out there. The next thing is make sure that everything is clear and consistent, like this nice green apple, and that the message is concise. It's visually attractive as all these apples are, and that it all ties in with the messaging and everything else that you're doing on your website. To help facilitate this, you might want to consider setting up a marketing calendar and making sure that this messaging and that is also on your website. So if people go there, they will see that accordingly. You can accomplish that through a blog, so everything ties together neatly. And what will happen here is if you take this type of approach, you'll be perceived as a thought leader. You'll be perceived as someone who's a go-to for solutions to insurance problems. And that is what you want. You want to be seen as someone that people can pick up the phone and call, that you are the answer man or the answer woman with regard to insurance problems, and you are right there to provide them with solutions on a timely basis to address their needs. The next slide is, do you strategically use social media? And I bet the answer on this for 90% or more of you is no at the current time. Because the first thing you want to do is look at this, because this is an eye-opener. There's just so many things out there that you can be doing on social media. So you want to make sure you have defined your goals and objectives, the who, what's, whys, and how and when of this whole entire process with regard to what you're doing on social media. It's a critical starting point. And I mentioned before about the target audience. making sure that everything you're doing with regard to the platforms is aligned with your customer. So the other thing is that the social media is not just what you see here. There's so many other things with regard to social media. It's websites, it's blogs, it's check-in sites, and one of them is mentioned here, as a matter of fact, called Foursquare. And then review sites such as Yelp, and the new one now out there is, I believe it's Nextdoor, that a lot of small neighborhoods are using with regard to recommendations. So you want to be cognizant of all these tools, but don't get overwhelmed with them because of the fact that you can spend a tremendous amount of time and accomplish very few results if you're not careful. The other thing is you want to make sure that your alignment on these is really with your customers and prospects. You want to know the demographics of each and every one of these particular platforms. And also, the thing is, some may not make sense with regard to area in that. For instance, on some of these, they're huge, like Facebook, 1.7 billion users, YouTube, 1 billion plus, LinkedIn, 450 million, Instagram, 400 million, Twitter, 320, Pinterest, 100 million, and then there's Snapchat, 100 million. I bet Snapchat's something most of you don't use right now. It's used mostly by millennials and high school students. However, it might be something to consider in the future with regard to trying to reach that particular demographic. You want to think in social media like your customers think. Be timely on the respective platforms. When are they on these platforms? When are they getting their information? For instance, I found on a lot of these platforms that Sunday is a great day for reaching them. Also, first thing in the morning when people get in, because of the fact that they open their emails or check their respective social media platforms to see where different people, what they're posted in that. But do yourself a favor. In so doing, don't stretch yourself too thin. Start out with 2 or 3 platforms like Facebook, maybe LinkedIn and Twitter, and then move on from there over time as you make a determination where your customers are and how they're consuming information. And ask them, don't be afraid to do so, as to what they look like with regard to their platform and their participation on each and every one. The other thing is you want to try to effectively communicate with these platforms. So there are now tools out there which will allow you to do so automatically and take a real burden off your back so you can be out there selling, engaging with prospects. The next thing with regard to social media working is you can use a variety of tools such as Google Analytics. And Google Analytics is quite helpful, and it's something that most people don't use effectively. They might have installed it, but they don't know what to do with it in that. But actually, Google Analytics can help you make a determination as to whether the footprints you put out there on social media and all your activity is working for you. It really is a great way of measuring your inbound marketing success and lead generation possibilities from your social media campaigns that tie back into your website, and conversely, looking at the information that is generated by the website via Google Analytics. So you're getting those leads to your website. I want to stress one thing is you want to do as much as you possibly can to drive all the traffic to the website, and also to try to capture email addresses from each and every customer and prospect they have, because the actual money is in the email list that you were able to compile, because that gives you the ability to continue to nurture those relationships over time. You'll have some of that information if the prospect becomes a customer, but if you can gather that information in the prospect stage, it really helps. And Google Analytics, if you send out a newsletter, that will help you make a determination as to whether people are clicking through, which will have a bearing on the amount of email addresses that you're able to capture. So Google Analytics, I love it. I think it's a great tool and something which you all should be considering. You also want to make sure that you're getting conversions through signups and that on your website, and that people are opting in as much as they possibly can. And then looking at how you acquire these users. As I mentioned, there could be traffic channels such as emails, social media campaigns. Are they coming from other websites through links? And Google Analytics gives you all this information. It will help to structure your social media campaigns as well as a lot of other marketing activities which you have out there. So it's very, very important that you take advantage of this. Unlike so many insurance brokers, insurance agents, and others out there in the business world. For instance, we gave a presentation last week on this entire subject, and there was only one individual in the entire audience of 17 that was using Google Analytics or using it effectively. So it's incumbent upon you to use this. It will give you a distinct competitive advantage in competing with other insurance brokers and insurance agents out there. So measurement of success, the click-throughs, the visitors that you actually have as a result of those click-throughs. Are they scheduling appointments with you? Are they watching videos? What's the bounce rate look like when they come to your site? How quickly are they bouncing off and where are they going? How much time are they spending on your site? If you're selling any type of product that in conjunction with what you're doing, say maybe a low-cost policy for that, are they actually doing that and buying that on your site and then downloading white papers that you might be offering? This is just a way that you can take a look at some of what you have with regard to measurement of success. The number of page views, unique page views, the average time on your page, the bounce rate, as I mentioned before. This is what a Google Analytics dashboard looks like, and as a summary section. And then there's all website data, such as you can look at the audience, look at the acquisition, the behavior. There are a myriad of different things you can use with this tool to help better manage your activity and make a determination as to what's working with regard to gathering prospects. The other thing is, with regard to this, is this social media working to attract prospects? One thing I'd like to emphasize is if it's not working, you want to make sure that it does, because of the fact that it's key that you adjust your strategy, that you pivot, that you conduct A to B testing to ensure that everything is working properly, and change course if you have to. For instance, if you're not getting visitors to your website from your social media campaigns, obviously you're not doing something right. If you're not downloading videos, then the videos are probably not structured the way that they should be. Are you giving them pertinent information with regard to videos? There are a number of social media pundits out there that continue to state that 2017 is the year of video. I actually heard that back in 2010. This is the year of video. And videos come a long way, and a lot of videos are out there. However, I can tell you unequivocally that majority of them are just gathering dust, that people don't look at them, they get very few click-throughs. You need to have things that are going to resonate with your clients or prospects and address the problems and concerns that they have. The other thing is, are you getting calls to your office? That's a great determination as to whether or not you're attracting prospects via your website or social media campaigns. So this is very, very important that you make this consideration accordingly. So again, don't be afraid to try different things. If one social media platform or one strategy isn't working, then pivot and try something else. So today I've talked about the 5 tips for finding prospects using social media. Define your ideal customer. Clarify the product offerings. Provide clear and concise differentiation with regard to your messaging. Connect on the strategic social platforms, but remember, don't stretch yourself too thin. Ensure that you get on the platforms where your audience is and connect with them accordingly. Then measure the performance, and then pivot in testing if necessary with regard to what you're actually doing. Do not continue down a path that's not working for you, because you can spend a great deal of money and time accordingly. The other thing is, with regard to the testing, be careful of the shiny object syndrome, that you don't go out and spend a great deal of money on tools that people might be offering. Google Analytics, as a small business owner, is a great starting point. It can answer a lot of the questions which you actually have. So today, I want to give special thanks to 7-Figure Sales Tools and Insurance WebEx. They've been instrumental in putting this webinar together and helping to distribute it accordingly. I couldn't do it without them, and I'm really indebted to them. So I want to thank you for your time that you've offered today. And what we're offering as part of this is an overall Mastering Social Selling series. with a special offer of $79 for 3 webinars, which will consist of Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook at 3 separate times over the next few weeks. And then a free bonus webinar on how healthy is a website on the 18th of July. And then a single platform marketing social media evaluation, a 15-minute call available to the first individuals to sign up. So again, I'd like to emphasize that we'd love to work with you, like to avail this opportunity to you because I think it'd be very, very helpful in mastering your business and what should be done. And some of the pertinent social media platforms, and also with regard to your website and what is it doing to generate leads for your respective businesses. You can connect with me at jeffsheehan2010@gmail.com. My website, LinkedIn profile, which is the site I most prefer, and then Twitter at Jeff Sheehan. I have 363,000 followers, and I'd love to communicate with you. So please let me know that you saw this as a result of the webinar. And when you connect with me, I'll be happy to reach out to you accordingly. So again, I want to thank you for your time. It's been a pleasure connecting with you this afternoon. And if there are any